dead. They're all messed up. All messed up.
You wouldn't give her that flower, would you?
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Mama Coscarelli.
It's not Mama Coscarelli. It's Don Coscarelli. He's not a papa or a mom. Well, he might be a
He
papa,
might be a
but I
papa.
know he's not a
He
mama
is a
or a
papa.
papa.
Papa
He is a
Don.
papa.
Is he California dreaming?
But
Yes, he is.
you had the same issue I did. I thought I had the memories of Phantasm II, not Phantasm I. Then I watched Phantasm I, and I was like, "What is this movie?" Because I was remembering the quad barrel shotgun. I remember the chainsaw stuff. I remembered the ending, and that messed me up as a kid. I can't believe how much flack the ending got, but we'll get into all that stuff. For everybody else, this is Xenomania. We're talking about Phantasm II, our follow-up to Phantasm I. Everything as it should be.
Coscarelli, like, he didn't know how to write the sequel. I was reading about it, and he felt under pressure to write a sequel because of the success of the first film, and he thought the ending was conclusive, which it is, with the idea of a dream sequence. Mike getting pulled through the mirror by a lurker. It is not an evil Jawa. It is a lurker, as I learned. A lurker, as I learned. That's actually pretty funny.
A little alliterative.
But a little bit. But he didn't feel knowledgeable about writing sequels, which was interesting. He was like, I don't know how to write a sequel, and he had a breakthrough where he was like, I'm just going to continue where I ended the first film, and I'm going to make it a road movie, and that's how
Perfect.
he solved that whole issue.
It
Oh,
works.
and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Universal was willing to give him $3 million to make it. The biggest budget of the whole series.
I didn't know that. Even more than 2016?
Yep.
Whoa. That's pretty cool. How do you make a movie in 2016 for under $3 million?
We're going to find out.
We're going to Blair Witch that shit. Yeah,
a
I
lot
guess.
of CGI, green screen maybe.
Wow.
At home editing.
Wow.
But to add on, at that time, 3000 was like the lowest budgeted film for Universal at that time too.
Dollars?
Which is pretty funny. Yep, that was their lowest budget.
3 million,
1988. Yeah, everything else was got a higher budget, but also Universal just wanted to do it because they wanted a horror series. Because of the success of like Halloween, Hellraiser, Nightmare, they were like, we need to jump in on this. Oh, Phantasm. And it was a good idea. The sequel does hold up.
Oh yeah.
It does.
Oh yeah.
But they botched the release.
Oh.
How did they do that?
I can sympathize.
So, Phantasm II was supposed to come out in October.
Okay.
But one of their summer movies got delayed. So they bumped Phantasm 2 up to the summer, and it's not a summer movie. Like, that's not a movie people are going to go spend their summer blockbuster money on.
No.
So it wound up getting like a 14-day, like, wide release run. So it never did what it could have.
And it was 9 years after the original too. So that's like, that's plenty of time for people to not have any idea what Phantasm 2 is,
Yeah. Especially, I mean, you think back to that time, you don't have the streaming service, you don't have internet, you don't even, like, the video store is not the hugest thing in the world. Like, it's not like you can go and rewatch the first one that easily, that it's going to be fresh in your mind.
I don't think everyone was running to rent Phantasm, sadly. Even though the first one, besides us being horror fans, I was talking to Jada about it because we've been discussing the first one all week because she's been in this fight of do I like it, do I not? And she today was like, I really do like it, but it's one of those weird movies, and that's how you kind of look into it. There's so many layers.
Yeah.
And the simplicity of it. And that's the same thing. Like the second one though is more conventional. Just like the storyline, like Universal didn't want really those dream sequences. They wanted it to be straightforward, but you can see Coscarelli, and this is how good of a writer he is. He implants it into the film, and like how it's directed, how he films it. It's like that questionable of, is it a dream? Is it not? And it's in his own way saying, fuck you to Universal, which kudos, because he says it so nonchalantly through his filmmaking and writing.
That's a good way to say it. It's
Yeah.
interesting towards the end of the movie too, when you're trying to figure out whether or not it's a dream, and the characters aren't even sure whether or not it's a dream. So it's like
Mhm.
we're like in a sort of weird inception mode as the audience, and the characters have no idea what's actually happening. Only Don does.
And there really is like a lot of, well, here's your $3 million, but we don't want the the dream stuff involved. We also want you to recast Mike.
Yeah,
We
that
don't want
Mhm.
Michael Baldwin. We want somebody else. And that somebody else almost apparently was a young Brad Pitt.
Yes.
and he had been in a horror
Okay.
movie, I learned, as
Mm-hmm.
well
Yep.
in his early career,
Yeah.
pre Thelma and Louise.
Cutting class.
Cutting Class. But
That's a good title too.
yeah, it is a pretty good title.
Yeah.
Cut like my 8-pack.
Is the plot basically like The Breakfast Club? All these bad kids, Saturday detention, are getting cut for cutting class.
The plot's probably like, all right, we have to figure out how to have Brad shirtless the entire
You're
film.
not too
We
far off.
need a pool scene.
And then
Does any school have a pool?
You spend a lot of the movie thinking Brad Pitt is the killer.
Really?
I still think Brad
A
Pitt's the
lot
killer.
of the movie.
I think he's adopting those kids just to off them. Nobody knows how many he
Maybe.
got. Nobody knows.
No.
Could be
Nobody knows if he's still getting them.
started at 15. They're down
Maybe
to
that's
7.
why it looks good.
Oh, yeah. Adrenochrome. Brad, it was you.
So they successfully get Michael Baldwin recast, and they tried to get Reggie recast too. They wanted somebody bigger than that, and
That would have been
Coscarelli
stupid.
outright refused on that one.
Nobody would have played Reggie as audaciously as he was
No.
played. And I don't think, have we spoken about it actually while the show was running? Probably not, right?
No, we have
But
not.
we have to talk about Reggie.
We do.
We have to talk about Reggie. So John delivered some news today as we were prepping for the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Our friend Reggie Bannister is on home hospice care as, his fight with Parkinson's and dementia clearly nears its end,
How old is he
which
now?
is, he didn't look, but he's late 70s, I think now.
That's still too
Yeah.
young.
Mid to
That's
late
still too young for
70s.
this nonsense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of going out this way.
No.
I am glad you mentioned
No.
home hospice, though. I thought he was actually at a hospice care center, which is
Yeah, no, the article
Worse.
makes it pretty clear it's home, which is, the better way for it to happen. But
yeah.
yeah, he'll actually be 80 this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He's had an awesome life. He's been in 5 films, Phantasm basically. He's been in Wishmaster. He's been in a lot of like B-movie horror films, but he makes it that A-list requirement just because Reggie, he's a good actor. You know, his facial expressions, like how he reacts, he's just it sucks. It sucks what he's going through, you know.
Mhm. It blows.
Yeah, to me, Reggie Bannister is always sort of like Clint Howard, like just like awesome character actor that you don't sort of always recognize or know who he is, but he's going to be fun when you see him.
Well, in Phantasm II, he's Clint Howard from The Waterboy then, because he destroys this movie in the best way. I mean in a positive way. He carries the film in so many different ways. It's a great movie all in all too, but I don't think it'd be the same without Reggie. My favorite is like, let's just pick up the hitchhiker. She's hot. I'm gonna pick up the hitchhiker. Friggin' Reggie.
Alchemy.
Yeah,
That's
of
her
course
name,
her name's
Alchemy.
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 Hitchhiker
It's
named Alchemy.
Mike has the premonition. He wakes up. He's like, what I miss?" He's like, "Oh, I just picked up this hitchhiker. She's gonna be with us for the rest of the ride." And then as they're relieving themselves on the side of the road, Mike's like, "Do you think this is a good idea?" And he's like, "Mike, I need some love too. It's like
Yeah.
it's a little. It's been dry the last few days. My family just died in a house explosion. Come on, like show me some
Oh
love.
yeah, that's true too. Like the 180 turnaround from grieving anger to I'm gonna bang this hitchhiker named Alchemy.
He's still angry.
Classic Reggie.
I mean, if you pick up a hitchhiker named Alchemy that looks like Alchemy does, you kind of have to shoot your shot, right?
I mean, if your name's Reggie and you're on a road trip to destroy certain evil, then yes, you do.
I'm not trying to start a Dark Tower conversation, but did you feel the vibe
Yes, you are.
on? Did you feel?
Yes, you
Did
are.
Did you feel the vibe when they're going town to town? Like when Desmond, like in the first book, the gunslinger, when he's starting his journey, he's going to the ghost towns and stuff. Gave like that vibe, because they're trying to find that evil. Like Desmond's trying to find the man in black. He's after him. It's like they're chasing this evil. It was just, I don't know, just that little comparison.
Desmond is trying
Am
to
I
find the
getting
man in black. Roland?
Roland? There we go. I don't know
Roland?
why I had
His
Desmond.
chain of Gilead? Ryan? Desmond? You did that on purpose.
I had Desmond in my mind for some reason. I am
Desmond,
so sorry.
the protagonist.
Ro-
Roland, Desmond. Anyway. Yeah, then and Reggie would be the first one to shove his Colt 45 up some woman's and get information out of her too. That happens in Gunslinger 1, by the way. Or Gunslinger Dark Tower 1. It's usually a deal breaker for readers too. They get to that part and they're like, "Nope. I can't read this nonsense." And
Wait a minute.
visually it reminds me of like I hate to say this, but vampires. Bon Jovi, like that
okay.
deserty vibe a little bit too, and a little bit of Constantine when they did the scenes in Mexico and the guy gets the spear of destiny, like that same sort of road trippy, dusty. Everything feels dusty a little bit,
Mhm.
but it's not. In Phantasm, I think he just was going for that opaque sort of coloration, right? So you can't tell if it's the real
Yeah.
world, maybe.
Yeah. Not a lot of daylight in this one.
No.
The tall man doesn't operate in the light. And they do a lot of interesting stuff in this one. Between the opening of the graves and then on the trip, there's stuff that they get into on the trip too. I'll let Ryan get into that a little bit more. But when they're not dodging lurkers per se, but there's danger. It's a fraught adventure the entire way.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, they start off. It's like it's got a good vibe. It's like as much of a darkness. They're going after this darkness. Reggie's journal entries kind of give a nice vibe, a good vibe to it. Kind of it's like a little wholesome. Like this is what we're doing throughout our day. Even like when they break in and they get all the weapons and the tools from the store. Like I'm watching this, I'm like, oh shit, they're robbing this place. And then he throws like, what do he throw? Like $40. It's 1988 for all that stuff. It's $40. Crazy. I'm just crazy. Chainsaws. No, he's got like 3 shotguns in there. I presume he gets a grenade there too, because I don't know where else he got the grenade.
If you're like the Alamo
Which
hardware store, who doesn't pick up a grenade from aisle 9?
like he got everything and for $40. But it's cool that it shows how they're good people because they pay him. Even though they break and entering, they're paying for everything they get. But it further goes in because they create the quadruple shotgun, they create a flamethrower, which is awesome. Oh, we are definitely covering the quadruple shotgun. When I saw that, I was like, now I know why Kearns is always talking about the quadruple shotgun from Phantasm II. And they tease you too. They
Yeah.
tease you when he's about to use it, which we'll definitely get into. But as they're following like the tall man's trail, they're going through ghost towns, empty graves, and it's that question: is it a dream? Is it reality? But it really gets to it when go into the morgue, and this is where it comes with the alchemy stuff, because that's her on the slab.
Well, yeah, it
She's
looks
dead
just
on the.
like her.
Okay.
Yeah, Reggie not really understanding that is bizarre. That's probably one of the things I don't like about the movie is the fact that nobody's like, we saw her already.
Mhm.
This naked lady prostrate. So that's weird. And unless I missed that, but I'm pretty sure they don't ever acknowledge that it's the same girl, like Ryan said.
No.
Yeah, I know the
No.
audience is supposed to see that, but I don't understand what Don was doing with that one.
I mean, Mike has a premonition, and I feel like during this time, was 1988. So around that time, I know Carrie came out in 1979, but that reemergence of the idea of Carrie was coming back with the sequel, and I think they did the Friday the 13th New Blood Rising, where it was Jason versus Carrie. And the reason I mention it is Mike has that telekinesis, like he can sense or premonitions.
Psychics were so in. They were
Yeah,
so
like I it works, but then where was that power in the first film? Like Liz having it, like
well.
the replacement for Jody, it
That's
made sense.
the
But for
trouble
him to
with
have it, it's like,
sequels. You got to ass pull a little bit
yeah,
to keep the
true.
story going. So he's like, Mike's kind of like super duper talented at this now. And, it is tomorrow, so he's already a
Mhm.
master at it, and like he's using the force on the lurkers. But no, yeah, it would have been nice if he was a little better at it, so Reggie's family didn't have to die. But that was hilarious. But
He's like, I just love the line. He's like, "Can you call them, dude? It's 1988.
it's a
You don't have a
landline.
phone
Do you have a
in that car."
dime? Right? Payphones were a dime in the 80s, I think.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Do you have a dime?
They
Oh man.
they really blew that house up too.
Oh really? It
Oh
wasn't
yeah, they did.
a model? It was a real house?
No, no. So, at the time they were filming, California Transit Department in LA had condemned a whole bunch of houses because they wanted to expand a freeway near LAX,
Yeah.
and they were selling the
Makes sense.
houses for next to nothing. With the catch that you buy the house, you then have to move it. So
Okay.
Oh.
Coscarelli and company went to Cal Transit and were like, "How about if we blow it up and then just part off the debris?" And they're like, "As long as you're paying."
It works out.
I thought it was Michael Baldwin's house, to be honest with you. Just an added fuck you. Not only are you not in the sequel, but we're gonna blow up your house.
With your family actually in it.
Yeah. What did I do, guys?
That's why he returned for the third film. He had to make money to rebuild his house.
Rebuilt his childhood
Yeah.
home.
I don't have
It's,
that many
it's
more family for you to blow up, Don.
But getting back to the psychics and whatnot, yeah, that aspect of it. But Reggie going in with no psychic abilities, just pure balls, titanium
Mhm,
balls, and idiocy. It was also his superpower. That was also pretty fun
mhm,
to watch. Him just like having no right to make it through certain circumstances and doing it.
mhm. Yeah.
Well, it starts off in the beginning when he's like he sees the tall man, he sees everything going on with Mike, right? He fights the lurkers, which I
Yep.
did get a jump scare when the lurker jumps out the cupboard.
Mm-hmm.
I I jumped. I was like, "What?" Like I was ready, and I haven't jump scared in a movie in a while. Like these type of like
Mhm,
80s films,
Right.
usually prepared after watching so many. No, that little shit jumped out of the freaking cupboard. And I was like, Reggie, beat the crap out of him. But he goes through the whole thing. He blows up the house. And then he still doesn't believe Mike until his family dies in an explosion. And he's like at the
mhm.
funeral, like, I
You
believe
got
you,
me.
Mike.
You got
It
me.
took you how long, Reggie?
Didn't they have to dig up the
How
graves
long?
first for him to fully be on board, or was that later?
No, he didn't even believe him in that part. He's like, "Where are the bodies,
Yeah,
Reggie?" He's like,
yeah.
It's okay."
It's okay. They're
Mike Mike gets straight out of Morningside Psychiatric,
yeah.
straight to the cemetery to start digging up graves. Like, you're cured, you're fine.
That's my favorite. It's one of my life goals to escape from a psychiatric ward, like an inpatient mental hospital. I've picked people up from them before, and I've definitely cased the joint for trying to figure out how I do it. I'm like, all right, they buzz you in, There's only one door. They don't have a double door system. That's stupid. I'm gonna knock Edith out. She's the one by the buzzer, and it's only a 40-yard dash to the woods. You can imagine doing it. And Mike gets out though like regular. He just saunters out. He's like, "I am cured," and they're like, "Yes, you are. Off you go, son."
Yeah. He's having like his little release meeting. His brain is still, full tall man, but he's, telling the doctor the exact opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I'm fine now. But
everything's great.
to sort of call back to another sequel we watched, it's very, very similar to Fright Night 2
Yeah,
Very.
with,
And
Charlie and his doctor.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of like leakage there where he didn't even realize it, but it was in his subconscious and he sort of just did a little copy paste on that overall plot structure. And which isn't a terrible thing to do. It works. And it's a totally different movie. It's not like he stole it, but you're right. It is very eerily similar to Fright Night 2 with regard to that. Only his therapist wasn't a vampire. It was a tall guy that looked like the dude from No Country for Old Men on stilts.
Mhm.
Anton Chigurh. Actually, I don't know. I never thought of that before, but tall man influence on Anton Chigurh for the movie?
He just needs just flip a coin, heads or tails.
Not even just the way
Heads
he
or tails,
looks.
Mike.
Yeah, boy. It's just
Where is
weird
the
way
money?
he looks. Where's the money? Lebowski. They just switch right into it. Is that a marmot?
But I'm the dude.
We could do this for hours. Just do this and switch movie to movie to movie to movie to movie. We'd end up with like Homeward Bound 3. Oh, we're stupid. All right, back to Phantasm 2. Phantasm.
Don't you know?
Yeah. Oh God. I was gonna say, let's give the audience, because we always skip the quick summary. We always do it like 20 minutes in anyway. But
True.
Phantasm 2 begins. Mike's in the mental hospital because of the events of Phantasm 1. He's not seeing visions of the tall man. What's her face is?
Liz.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, Liz.
Yeah.
Elizabeth
Elizabeth.
is being harassed by tall, lanky guy, the original Slender Man, and
Mhm.
and then Mike gets out by faking wellness, which really, in reality, he is well. If it's not a dream, right? And he's fighting evil, he is technically well. And then he hooks up with Reggie, fails to predict in time the exploding of Reggie's family, or the original Mike Baldwin's house, and then our Mike character Mike's house, and then they go on a road trip to go take out the Slender Man, and they pick up a very suspicious hooker or hitchhiker rather on the way and fight the denizens of evil. There's some stuff I'm leaving out. They do stop at a hardware store to gear up for like a final confrontation. There's some cool stuff that happens after that, and we'll probably pick up there. But pretty much what we've already detailed, sort of right up to the point where I just left off.
Yep. And you get Elizabeth and her grandmother's funeral, which is probably the worst attended funeral in the history of movies.
Yeah,
There's 3 people at her grandfather's funeral.
$3 million budget,
And one
man.
leaves early.
$3 million budget. We're not even letting the craft people in here. They're gonna want SAG cards. They're gonna want to get paid. Screw that. Nobody liked her grandma.
And then the really bad look of the Reverend stabbing the corpse while the widow is watching. Like,
And she faints.
sir, you have to be a little more subtle about that, I think.
Yeah.
He was taking shots from his flask before that, all right? The character was quote unquote drunk already.
What good reverend is this?
Nothing was stopping him. I hear the wind at my door. No, it's because you had a few drinks, Father Myers.
Spirit. That kind of thing. And then they hook up with Liz.
I mean, it's good to know that Grandpa's not like always dead, because he shows up in Grandma's bed that night.
He had to make sure she was okay. Come on now. He didn't it wasn't like it was it was humble. He had a smile on his face, sewn, but smiling, Dagger's still there. Was the dagger still in him? I'm sure.
I have no recollection of this scene at all.
Like looks at her and she's just like screaming. And Liz doesn't even wake up, right?
What do they
Jesus.
just they just panned or swap scenes to like Reggie playing the electric guitar on the top of his car or something like that. Just like, I'm just gonna pan over here. Tell them about the let's go with the spheres. Phantasm is nothing without the spheres. So we see a different kind of sphere in Phantasm 2, do we not?
Well, you
We
get
see
3
multiple in there.
silvers.
Multiple. We have 3 silvers, and isn't there another? Isn't there?
Gold.
There's a gold sphere.
Yeah.
The spheriest of spheres. So what made the gold
Yeah.
sphere better than the other spheres, gentlemen? Do we remember? I think it was just used to open up like a gate, to be honest with you. I think it was like a portal sphere.
Mhm. Yeah,
had-
it was a key.
It was a key. It was a key.
Yeah.
Little Hellraiser
It also
action going on there.
had radar. It had radar.
Mhm.
It was like lasers. It had a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
It can go through doors. Like I,
The gold one?
for some reason that the
They
gold
don't-
No,
one,
the,
yeah,
the
The regular silver ones I think you're thinking of were blasting and doing all
yeah, that was the silver ones that we're doing. Are going through
The
the
gold-
doors.
well, the gold one definitely
killing
buzzsawed that mortician. Like did like a
Me,
pinhead
Patrick
thing. And he was,
Bateman.
Patrick Bateman.
That dude looks like Patrick Bateman.
I could see that.
both of them do. It's like pre psychotic breakdown and after psychotic breakdown, just based on how their hair is.
It's pretty much like Monday through Friday for me. Right there. You just pretty much described it.
So if we seen you in a raincoat, worry. Okay.
I mean, yeah, generally. I've always wanted one of those long trench coat raincoats. But who can pull that off? If you're not like John Cusack, unironically wearing one of those things, you pretty much just can't do it. And every douchebag who's down in the financial district that's wearing one shouldn't be wearing one either. I don't care what galoshes you're wearing and your suits. It's not for you. It's for Dick Tracy and John Cusack. All right? And people who are doing bad things.
Yes.
Like Patrick Bateman.
Patrick Bateman, exactly.
Kudos on the Dick Tracy reference. Now I have Warren Beatty and Al Pacino as Big Boy Caprice in my head right now.
Can I just comment, going back to the Michael and Reggie kissing scene after they pick up alchemy?
Yeah.
And it's clear the only reason Reggie picked her up is he wants to bang her. And he's like, he goes through this whole thing with Michael about everything. He's like, it gets hard on the road. And I just, well, yeah.
A little double entendre action for old Reg. Don must have loved writing his parts.
Has to.
Yeah, must have. And then, so getting into like the aspect of his writing and stuff like that too. We have sort of the layers of this story and things. I got to try to figure out, why did he name her Alchemy? Alchemy, and then there's the gold sphere. Alchemy was the word alchemy, I think, was when people were trying to legitimately turn lead into gold. So the gold sphere, is there a symbol there I missed? And I really didn't put a lot of brain power on it because it's Phantasm II. It's just a good hang, and I didn't want to make it something it's not. But there is something there.
It's a good connection.
Yeah. There has to be, based on that name. I looked a little bit too, and I couldn't quite come up with it, but it's there.
Something he had
It
an
has
idea.
to be there.
Nobody else may ever get that idea, but he had an idea. He's like, no, in 2025, there's going to be 3 guys, and they're going to talk about it. They're going to figure out. They're finally going to figure it out.
It does go full circle with the ending. And when we get to the ending, well, I can tie it in because it does make sense now.
Really?
Because it does. If you really want to go into it, like the lady in lavender, right, from the first film,
Mm-hmm.
it's the tall man. If we want to jump into it, alchemy is the tall man. Alchemy turns into the tall man at the end, and that's why I feel like it's not why Reggie's getting mauled to death is why he's screaming. He's screaming because he fucked the tall man.
The
The realization kicked in.
tall man's body count is pretty high in this series.
Both deaths and insects.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ugh, gross. So the ending of the movie. Well, before we get into the ending, because Ryan just alluded to how it ends, but before we get there, we have this final showdown. We got to talk about how badass Reggie's character is. As an homage to the actor as well, but in the movie, we have a couple of scenes that occur where there's a fight, and one of the things I remember was, does he have bullets? Like,
Yes.
yeah, he's a bullet belt, but he's got it draped over his
The
shoulder.
bandolero
Yeah, the bandolero
Mhm.
with the bullets and drill bits.
and drill bits.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
which I thought was a great touch.
he's in this like weird. It looks like somebody's old smoking room or something. And he's got his chainsaw and everything, and the 4-barrel shotgun. I don't know why he's not using it in the scene, but I remember the other dude comes in with the bigger chainsaw, and that's
The
where it gets
Graver.
fun. Yeah, the Graver comes in with the bigger chainsaw, and so Reggie's like, huh? He pulls his out, and then the other guy's
Patrick
bigger.
Bateman, mortician.
He goes, and they start it up, and he starts like kind of dismantling a little bit, and he does take off that bandolero with the larger chainsaw while Reggie's like hiding. And I remember that from when I was a little kid.
The scene is awesome. I'm going to cause some controversy and
Oh,
say I'm a fan of the sequel, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. The Dennis Hopper Leatherface chainsaw fight was on my top number one. This takes it. And it's just because of Reggie Bannister. I'm not like buttering it up, but I like Reggie the actor so much. His reactions, how he flows with the scene, it's realistic. I mean, seeing Dennis Hopper in a cowboy suit fighting Leatherface on top of a mountain is cool, but the this takes the cake, and you get it because it's like he's like fighting. You see the clanging of it. He's like drilling the graver on the side with the drill. It just shows how awesome Reggie is.
I could dig it.
Yeah, yeah. Reggie is just badass the whole time in this one. Like, except when he's having sex with alchemy. Like he looks like he's the most uncomfortable man in the world
Oh, he knew.
while they're
He
having
knew.
sex.
Because, yeah, the whole time. The whole time. He knew it was the
He let
tall
it slip.
man.
Boy, what'd you say?
No!
Nothing. Nothing.
Poor Red. He gave him all 4 barrels of that shotgun.
At the end of that scene with the chainsaw, he does use the shotgun. He blows the
Yeah,
lurkers
that's
away
how.
because they all come running out, and
Mhm.
it's an awesome scene because you're waiting for it. Because they tease it when he points it against the tall man,
Hmm.
and the tall man gets him off the road and flips. What was that? A Charger? SS Charger that they're
I think
driving?
that was a Cuda still. I think that was still.
They destroy that car. I was very upset, especially when they
Mhm.
like even the scene when they're getting Reggie out of the car because he's stuck. Like Coscarelli really put a thrill at the end of it because even though you're like, okay, they're gonna survive, because you know 3, 4, 5, but you're still at the edge of your seat. It's like, what the hell's gonna happen? You know, because anything can happen in these movies.
Hmm.
However, when they hide, do you guys feel like when they hide, it's horrible? Like, like in the beginning, Reggie hides behind a wall. The tall
Yeah.
man literally walks like in front of him, and then later with Liz, she's like hiding behind the box where the graver could easily see her, and then back again. It's like,
It's comical how little effort
Mhm.
they put into it. There's some suspension of disbelief stuff that they do with the movie where you can tell there's so much effort put into certain areas, and then some areas it's just like, we're gonna have him hide behind that tree. He's gonna stand like this sideways so you can't see him, and nobody's gonna find him for like the whole rest of the time they're there. Okay, Don, that's what we're gonna do.
it was just so noticeable. But also, mention it. Did you guys catch the references to Alex Murphy and Sam Raimi?
No.
The Sam Raimi one I caught. Yeah.
Where they have his bones in a little bag. They get him out of I
Mhm.
guess, the fire, and they put
Yep.
him in a bag and it says Sam Raimi. The
Mm.
Alex Murphys
Yep.
earlier, that's with Liz, and she runs by and she's on top of a gravestone. It says Alex Murphy, beloved husband and father. And all I kept thinking is the
Mhm.
scene where he gets blown apart. He's no. Then I
So,
thought Robo wants an Oreo. That's
so the Sam Raimi one is Coscarelli wrote in there because he and Sam Raimi met right before he started making Phantasm II. And it was like, you know, the Mutual Admiration Society, like both like loving each other's work. And Sam Raimi wanted to be in Phantasm II. But the way the script was done, there was just, what were you going to make him? So that was Coscarelli's way of putting Sam Raimi in the movie.
Gotcha. All right. Could have made him a lurker. He could have been like the lead lurker. And then he pulls the hood off at the end.
And it's Bruce Campbell.
Been
Right?
perfect. Would have been perfect.
Groovy, baby.
See, they were so you could make the argument that there was no crossover and stuff in the original Phantasm, but the Reggieing up of Reggie definitely feels like it has a little bit of Ash in it, don't you think?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just a wee
Yeah.
little bit, and that's fine by me because Reggie's Reggie, and he's the most balding, mulleted, ponytailed dude, hero guy that's ever done it, and nobody else is ever going to do it after quite as well.
As Alchemy says, she loves his bald head.
That's the way to do it, man. That's the way to do it. So
Or-
we get through to the end of the film after their big showdowns, running away from spheres and whatnot, which I still think are the best part of the movie. The spheres.
Into Father Myers, that I was excited when that happened. It happens, I feel like it was like 30 minutes for 30, 35 minutes. But when Father Myers gets it right in the head, I was like, okay, here we go. Because that's what you're waiting for. Which, on a side note, with those houses exploding, Father Myers is a former bomb expert, according to Lethal Weapon 2 and 3. So I was very upset that he wasn't able to stop that. The spheres part, even when it gets the mortician, I think mortician 1 in the hand,
Yeah.
and it's like drilling, and he's got it like they don't show him hack it off, but you see the motion. There's some cool special effects in it, and that's thanks to Greg Nicotero and Robert Kurtzman.
Okay.
They do a lot of great stuff. Greg Nicotero did Day of the Dead, Creep Show 2, Evil Dead 2, The Faculty, our favorite movie, Cabin Fever, and he directed and wrote episodes of Walking Dead, Creepshow TV, and Robert Kurtzman. He's kind of been with Greg his entire career, but stuff he's done on his own includes Night of the Creeps, Evil Dead 2, Tremors, From Dusk Till Dawn, Scream, and Tusk. Which, yeah,
Tusk.
he did a lot of.
Tusk was
Tusk is a rough one. I think we got to put that on the schedule.
Yeah. I sure would like to watch Tusk again. But
Just Justin Long.
it was your cat's whiskers, bro. I'm sitting there looking at John's camera trying to figure out if there's some sort of evil entity lurking behind him, and I can't figure out what it is. It's this wispy sort of thing. I was like, is that a cobweb? It's his cat's whiskers over the camera the whole time. So the last 3 minutes I've been really worried about you, John.
No. I was trying to get through Ryan talking before I stood up to get him.
Yeah. He's a good boy.
Well,
And,
that's an
and now
awesome
he's
shirt,
just
by the
done
way.
that.
Yeah, he's happy. Ours don't bother
He's
me
gonna
when I'm
think we're
doing this.
horrible.
They're probably trying to bug Kim, or maybe they're upstairs harassing the boys, actually. They like to do that.
John's shirt is awesome. He's representing Maniac tonight. If anyone
Woo!
has never
Yep.
seen Maniac, please watch the original. And I would shout out the remake. The remake's decent with Elijah Wood. I don't know how you feel about it, but like I don't think it was that bad.
I actually like the remake. It's different. Like it's a whole different, but the difference works because they moved the movie from New York to LA and they
True.
make it more of an LA type of movie,
Yeah.
which, you know, works for what they did. I mean, it's not Maniac, like it's not doesn't have that same feel, but it's a good movie.
The original's got that gritty feel and just the
Mhm.
just the gore and stuff. That's a
Mhm.
movie we need to cover, especially in the remake. There's you talk about Pet Cemetery Hostel. There's a killy scene in that one. That's rough.
No, thank you.
It's point
Elijah
of
Wood
view.
can. Oh no. Elijah Woods plays unsettling surprisingly well. He did it in Sin City as well, and you didn't think he had it in him, old Frodo Baggins, but he did.
His role as Kevin,
Yeah,
the like insane Bible study guy, he did an awesome job. And
Mhm.
I'm a big fan
Yeah,
of
I
the
mean,
book. So
he kind of has a creepy face. Like he's kind of got a face that if he just sort of emotes a little bit differently, he could be pretty creepy.
fair.
He's got the eyes and like the sort of this.
I have a friend who looks just like him too. I'm gonna text him right after this. Be like, guess what? You're a creep. It's gonna be great. But Elijah Woods, the good son, the one that lived. Thanks for that. We didn't want Macaulay. Actually, Macaulay's career died. Elijah Woods lived on. Interesting.
Hmm.
At the end of the good son. But
Listen,
ironically,
Culkin is showing up at independent wrestling events now. He's doing fine.
that's awesome. Is
really,
he participating or is he showing up and just chilling?
No, he one of the ones I saw, he was a participant.
Oh my
please
Not
tell
like
me
a
he threw a
full
micro.
participant, but like I have to find it. I think it
he's
was
old. He
around
shouldn't be
Christmas
doing that.
time, and I think it was like a Santa versus the Grinch
Culkin?
or something kind of match, and Macaulay gets involved in it. I have to find that.
He crawls out
Throwing
of Santa's
Legos on the
bag.
ground.
Yeah, exactly. Like just from the rafters, a paint can swings down. Oh, classic.
See, that's when
Man.
you got to get really creative and have like two wrestlers dress up like Harry and Marv against Santa, and then Macaulay
Yeah.
Culkin, like that would work. Going through a
Tags in.
flaming table. Oh,
Yeah,
Marv!
that'd be sick. But
Thumbtacks.
to pull us back to Phantasm II, everybody. So the film ends with them fleeing after having won the day. What do they do again at the very end before they drive off? They've
Well, they
done
get
something
pulled
where they think
through
they
the
won.
portal.
Yeah,
They
they get
get
pulled
pulled through the
back through the
portal
portal.
almost, which was cool.
They
And they almost
they
get
meet the tall man's brainworm,
right. The
Yeah, that was
brainworm.
interesting.
and
Weird.
then Reggie pumps the tall man full of embalming fluid laced with hydrochloric acid.
And he dies presumably, and then what
As much as the tall man ever dies.
right, and then they flee. They get in the car and they're in the hearse, I believe, and they
Yep.
flee with
Yep.
Alchemy driving. She's Andre the Giant at the end of Princess Bride. He's like, I have 4 horses. Get in the car. Bring the lady. Hello, lady. So they get in and they drive off in the hearse. And then Alchemy's like, guess what? I'm bad. And she crashes the car
Mhm.
and a bunch of lurkers and the tall man smashes the window, the rear of the hearse, and they get yoinked out. It's
Yep.
Yep.
very unsettling ending of the movie for a child. When the first time I saw it was in the 80s. It's like, oh, probably the early 90s actually. And yeah, that's how it ends. And we're left wondering what the hell happened.
That was Don saying again, "Fuck you, Universal. I am gonna make an ambiguous ending. Yeah, we're
Mhm.
gonna make it
Yep.
conventional for the whole thing." And then, is it a dream? Because even the character, he writes it for Mike at the end. He's like, "It's just a dream. It's just a dream." And then the tall man comes out and he's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I don't think so."
But I mean, isn't that what an evil entity in your dream would tell you?
True.
Mine just tells me it's going to be okay. Always lying. Always lying. And then I wake up and the covers are off again. It's the most insidious thing you can do.
Now I got a good one. I'll throw you guys a curveball. What do you think if they ever did it? A Phantasm crossover with Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy
I
versus
mean,
Tall Man.
the parallels are there. Totally there. I
Mhm.
don't think Nightmare on Elm Street got so campy and different than what Phantasm is. Not campy, but so different than what Phantasm is, and that And I guess Nightmare on Elm Street 4, there's the scenes where you don't know if you're in the dream or not. They like play around with that idea when he's running
Yeah.
around and does the repeater. But other than that, I think Phantasm is just a much deeper story, or at least it's trying to be, than most of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, or at least what they became. So I don't know if I think it would work. Not nearly as well as, Freddy versus Jason did and things like that. That's my take on that.
I'd be curious about it. I don't know how well it would work,
It'd be
especially now with so many people gone. Like, you don't have Angus, you don't have Wes Craven, you don't have enough of the people that made those things iconic.
Or you
Fair.
can't.
But if they did a
Fair.
graphic novel, I'd read it.
Oh, that would
That
be
would be
cool.
cool. That would be cool. Well, they probably would do that well and then screw it up in the film adaptation.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
That's why
they
the
kicked
Barn
ass.
Publishing, baby. Barn Publishing. It's going to be 50% graphic novel work.
IDW did an awesome job with Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, the first run. That 6-issue run was awesome. They've done it with a few things. They did like Jason versus Leatherface. A Phantasm Nightmare would be awesome. What, just to throw it out there because it's been development hell literally for years, is a rumored Hellraiser Halloween crossover called Halloween, where Michael opens the box. It was like an alternate universe where he opens the box and they take him through hell and he gets
And he
out, and that's
loves
why
it.
he's like, yeah, basically it's like his Six Flags.
Yeah. It'd just be his sister, but just out of reach. That's Michael Myers as hell. Carrot and a donkey, but it's just his sister.
I think there's a certain German power metal band they would have to buy that title from, though.
True. Very
Nice.
true on that.
How about Hellraiser? They wouldn't have to buy that.
Ooh, I like that.
Hello,
Hellraiser.
Razor. I said a
It's in
Hello Kitty.
pre-development now.
Hollow Razor.
How many pins in Pinhead's head?
Did you count? Did anybody ever
Hello
count? I'm
Kitty,
sure somebody did.
Pinhead. It's like 100 probably.
I'm sure somebody has counted them.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. With how much like dissecting people did with the movie The Cell with the horse anatomy when they split the horse and stuff to make everybody was so impressed at how correct all the organ placements were. I'm sure Pinhead's pins have been counted. But so Phantasm 2 ends with that ambiguous ending, just like Ryan said. And it took how many years before they launched Hellraiser 3? I mean, not Hellraiser 3, rather. Phantasm 3?
Early
I think it
90s.
was a while again.
It was another 7 or 8 years, I think. It's 88 then to like 94? Maybe it was 6 years. I think it was 94. Phantasm 3. Pretty sure there's 2 in the 90s. It was 90. Hey, a rare win for Kearns. I think there's 2 in the 90s.
1998 for Oblivion.
And then 2016 for whatever
for Ravager.
Yep.
Ravager. Oblivion is such a better title than Ravager. Ravager doesn't really seem to fit the. Actually, no. If you think of the spheres, never mind. I get into the heady part of the movie.
Souls.
Yeah, exactly. But I always forget about how terrifying the razor blade carrying spheres are in the Phantasm series.
That's the only thing that'll make me like afraid of any horror film are those damn spheres, because like there's nothing. You can't stop those motherfuckers. Just can't. A quadruple shotgun, but you don't have that handy.
Gotta get Reggie for that. In order to keep Reggie happy, you have to find an alchemy. And or off his family first. It's just a whole thing. It's a whole ordeal. It's an hour and 42-minute issue. I don't know how long the runtime is in Phantasm 2. I doubt it's an hour and 42.
No, you nailed it. It's an hour and 42 minutes.
There's no way. There's no way I got both right.
It's an hour and 42 minutes. Yes.
That was a complete guess. That's wild. All right. So on that note, Phantasm 2 ends, and we're gonna roll into top 5s.
So I went with this week. So we covered sequels last time, and I went with like the whole 80s vibes when we discussed Fright Night Part 2. And I was like, oh, what about good 80s sequels? This time I'm going a different direction. I'm
like
going.
that.
Was that alchemy? Um,
And more menacing than alchemy.
I decided to go with direct sequels this week. So I feel like with Phantasm II, Coscarelli said he had a difficult time trying to figure out a sequel, and his quote's great when he's like, "We'll just continue it from the first." So I created a list of 5 films that
Oh, cool.
connect to the first film very well. These are top 5 of my favorites. I hope people have interest in watching it. To start off, number 5 is Scream 2. It starts right off after the first one. Sydney's in college, and a new set of killers are going after her, and it like as it builds up, it's another good twist. I mean, you have the creative team of Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven at the helm again, so the story is continuous in a very good way. There's a lot of continuity. Number 4, Damien, The Omen 2. I love that film since the days of waking up early in the morning for AMC Fear Fest. I didn't want to
Yes.
call it Fright Fest this time. AMC Fear Fest. It's just a great film. It continues right at the end of the first Omen. Um, he's in a new family. He's still government and all that, and he's kind of learning his history of being the father of hell, basically, or the ruler of hell, I should say. Father, ruler of hell, both works depending on what interpretation you're reading. Paradise
Mhm.
Lost, John Milton, shout out right there. Number 3, I have to go with Halloween 2, 1981. It it continues right after Dr. Sam Loomis shoots him out of the window, and he's like, he's dead. Where is he? It's the boogeyman. And just seeing the opening when he grabs the butcher knife from the woman making that big ass sandwich, going to the hospital. It's a nice trailing of Michael from basically the town of Haddonfield to the hospital, and the story, it continues this great story, as well as giving out the way of the story where uh, Lori is his sister, which, I mean, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill just wrote it so they can end the film, but it's something that fans love and enjoy.
Mhm.
Number 2, I said it once before in the 80s. It's one of my favorite sequels, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Continues right after the first one, of course. We're in the mental asylum. Just, I like it better than the first one. I know that could be controversy right there, but just the special effects, the history of Pinhead and the Cenobites, they dive into it and seeing that they were human, it kind of gives a human side to these characters until you see the third one and it just goes haywire,
I
literally haywire.
We have to figure out, Ryan, what predates which, the Cenobites, Pinhead, and or the God Hand and Berserk. I think the God Hand might have them beat, but I can't tell. There's
Well,
definitely crossover there with the God Hand and Hellraiser. I just don't
I
know
want to
which
say the
one
God Hand. I want to say the
think that
God Hand's
inspired
before.
Hellraiser. It's
Oh, definitely.
there's one of the God Hand comes later. Like Berserk started way before Hellraiser, but I don't know if the God Hand was revealed. The Succubus one was, but we have to. I'm gonna look into that because there's one character there's a God Hand character. I forget his name. He's like a weird, weird looking dude, the chubbier one, who's definitely
Butterball.
yeah
Oh yeah.
in
Oh
Hellraiser.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I read that, when I was reading that, and I was like, why is Butterball from the Cenobites in this? I'm like, oh, this is a different character. But you get that idea of it. And the thing is Butterball was created for the movie. Clive Barker created him for the movie. In the novel, you have Pinhead, you have Chatterer, you have someone that's like Butterball, but it's not Butterball less to say. So this is going to be this is going to be an interesting research on this one because I
Hmm.
do think that Clive Barker borrowed from Berserk, which
Yeah.
comes and goes. We borrow a lot.
There's no problem with
Everyone's
that.
borrowing from everything.
Everybody borrows from Berserk too. Dark Souls.
Oh yeah. Oh God,
Gets
yes.
Castlevania took scenes almost directly from Berserk as well, and I love Castlevania, and I thought they did it really well too. So I had no problem with any of it. Berserk doing that is almost like paying homage to the great. It's
Fair.
one of the best sort of Shakespearean tragedy stories that's ever been done outside of Shakespeare. So we shouldn't start me talking on Berserk, because what's worse than me talking about the Dark Tower? Berserk. Yeah. So I'm going to move on. But we got number 2,
Well,
Hellraiser 2. Hot take, better than
so
Hellraiser 1, you son of a bitch. So
well,
let's get some people in the
number one.
comments talking about that, huh?
Well, people are gonna find this questionable for number one because I feel like this is a better film than the first film, and that's The Bride of Frankenstein. The Bride of Frankenstein is I love Frankenstein. He's alive, but The Bride of Frankenstein, the story, the writing, the acting, hearing Boris Karloff speak as the monster, it's such a better film. It's superior than the first one. It does everything better than what the first one does. I mean, okay, you got the girl getting thrown into the water, she drowns with the flowers and stuff. But the second one, he's trying to find the mate. I think it's been a long time since I've seen the second one. That's the one he finds the blind hermit, right? And he's eating the soup with them.
Mate, he's a person, Ryan. He's many people, actually.
He's
He's not
like
an
five
animal.
people in one,
Did you not read the
right?
book? Jeez. It's
His
like,
brain is
this
abnormal,
guy.
Abby
This
normal,
Abby normal.
Abby normal.
Abby normal. Yeah, I was gonna say before, about a minute ago, that I challenge you with Young Frankenstein is better than Bride of Frankenstein. But no, you make some good points, and that's an amazing movie. You know, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with De Niro, the monster. De Niro. Why?
He was an awesome monster. There's a new adaptation coming out, I think, this year on the Frankenstein mythos that I'm
Skarsgård.
curious in seeing. No, with a
Yeah,
mustache.
Skarsgård
Skarsgård.
Oh, speak
and a
about
penis.
Skarsgård.
They're gonna cast William
Speaking of
Dafoe's
which,
penis as the Frankenstein monster.
do we want to quickly close the episode 1 loop before we go into my other top 5 with Nosferatu? Have 2 of the 3 of us seen it now?
Yeah,
We both.
I.
No, yeah, you guys are good.
No spoilers. I mean, you know the story. There's not much to spoil.
Hold on
So
one sec.
having finally seen Nosferatu, Ryan,
All right, wait.
Oh, I saw it. Have you seen
Yeah.
Nosferatu yet?
No.
We have.
I know you have. In the theaters. Or did you rent it?
Of course, in the theaters.
Or did you rent it? Surely you paid
Right.
for it. We don't pirate films.
Oh, no, of course we paid for it. Come on now.
No.
Yeah.
And I will say that actually, for the most part, disclaimer, as a younger man, I may have done some things, and seeing my own work up on ludicrous websites with servers all over East Asia, I can say that I'm getting my comeuppance about it, but I do my best to make sure that people get paid for their work these days. And Nosferatu, the second it's streaming, I don't think it's on Amazon Prime yet. Usually that's the first place it hits. Is it on Prime?
It was on
It's
Prime.
streaming somewhere.
It's streaming
Yeah.
somewhere, maybe Apple TV or Prime or
Yeah.
something. It's on my list. I watched The Gorge. I literally
Okay.
re-upped my Apple sub because I was trapped in New Hampshire, so I watched The Gorge. That was an action flick. It was fun. I loved it. I enjoyed it very much. Everybody loves watching Weaver Country come back too, entering Weaver Country. Sigourney's in it. And yeah, it's a good movie. But as far as Nosferatu, no Sferatu watch me watch Nosferatu.
It grabbed my attention. It's worth whatever money, I think. I loved it from a film perspective. The camera work, Robert Eggers' camera work is great. The writing, he does justice. He blends it. He blends the 1979 one with Kinski with the romance element because there's a little more romance than what there should be in Nosferatu. I mean, again, we can go on the whole Bram Stoker talk with the romance, the romanticism.
They did
You were
some
waiting
stuff.
for it.
They did some stuff. No, I thought it was an interesting take. I've seen basically the whole movie in clips. So from what I watched in the theater for like 28 minutes, and then when I had to research and be able to speak about it for episode 2, so I watched a bunch of clips that were all over the place, and I basically watched the entire film. You guys were so mean about Willem Dafoe. I thought he did a great job. You guys are mean.
I thought he was great. Listen, I thought it visually stunning. I think the story's really good. I think they cast it really well. There are definitely some moments though where Willem Dafoe is talking in his accent, and it really makes me feel like he sounds like Mel Brooks. But
I could see that. All right, now that you put that in my head, that's not great. So now when I give it its
I-
first faithful watch, 1999 rental watch, it's gonna be brutal.
as a whole, I think it's a really, really well-made movie. I understand the praise for it. It misses me though.
No, I hear you.
It just there's something about it that just doesn't connect with me.
Oh, I mean, John, you're the aficionado, so if it doesn't connect with you, it didn't connect with the Academy either. I'm still pissed about that. What do you think about Lily Rose though? Like, do you think
she
Depp
killed it.
killed it? Yeah, she crushed it, right? Am I wrong on that?
She was
Yeah,
great.
she was good. She was good. Like I think all the performances and like I'll joke about Defoe and Mel Brooks, but he was really good too.
Oh, he's good in
I didn't
everything.
realize how short he was.
Willem Dafoe's like my height. He's like 5'8", I think. Well, yeah, to you, you
Yeah.
naturally
Well, no,
large
but
beast of a man, you.
compared to the people he's in scenes with too, it's like why do they have Willem Dafoe standing in a hole?
Well, they may have done
Oh,
that on
he's just
purpose too.
that much shorter.
Oh, then they didn't like
Mhm.
Tom Cruise him up for those scenes. That's just disrespectful.
No,
But
no,
Skarsgård
they let
is
him be
tall.
short.
They let him be short. And I think Lily Rose Depp is tall for a lady too. Pretty sure.
His scene though, when he's lighting all the caskets on fire, it gave me that reminiscent of like the Universal classics, the black and white films, the guy with the top hat and he's like running around with the fire, like kind of like he's majestically dancing. He's kind of going nuts, saying like it was all a trap. This is what's supposed to happen. It was a nice homage to those old films, like the silent era and the early black and white 30s. But they all killed it. I just feel like what was nice is they were doing interviews with Robert Eggers, and being such a Batman fan, he took inspiration for the style of film from Tim Burton's Batman Returns, like the cool blue colors and like the silhouettes and this blue sky. And I was like, as a Batman fan, that means a lot because Batman, Dracula ties in with the whole Bat vibe and stuff. But it's well done, and them the academy kind of like ignoring some of the performances, the writing, the direction. It's a travesty, and they should be more open to this.
I agree.
Yeah.
Listen to, listening to
With you.
Siskel and Ebert, listening to Siskel and Ebert too much.
Siskel and Ebert. All right, John, my
It's a
brain's bleeding.
travesty.
What's your top 5, brother?
All right. My five are 5 other horror movies with chainsaws that are not Texas Chainsaw or Evil Dead.
Okay.
Okay.
Because otherwise that's the whole list. It's gonna be Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw 1, 2, Evil Dead 2, or like no, you can't. So at number 5, it's right there in the title. Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers.
Nice.
By Neon.
So it's a private detective looking for a missing woman and stumbles on a cult called the Chainsaw Hookers.
Okay.
It stars Linnea Quigley, so obviously I love it. And just to tie up our whole chainsaws here, Gunnar Hansen,
Ooh,
the
okay.
original Leatherface. So you get him making an appearance in a chainsaw movie.
Nice, man.
So my number 4 is the drug-fueled nightmare that is Mandy.
That's a good hang.
So in Mandy, a couple living in the woods runs afoul of a hippie cult who kidnapped the wife. Nick Cage stars will go to great lengths to bring her home, including a chainsaw.
Lengths of chain.
Yeah, lengths of chain. So
We're not cutting that either. You're all gonna endure it with
No.
us. Number 3.
number 3, 1972's The Last House on the Left.
Oh, sweet.
Yep, there's a
Oh,
chainsaw.
we get the climactic scene is a chainsaw.
In the remake, is there a
The-
chainsaw in the remake? I don't think
Oh, I don't
I don't think
remember.
there is.
I watched that remake like once.
It wasn't that
I don't
great.
think there is.
No,
I
it
don't think there
doesn't.
is.
The original has that just like gross grit
The original is
that they can't
unsettling.
replicate.
Yeah, the original is
Yeah.
unsettling. Yeah, we're not going to get too into it because we'll be here all night. But
Yeah.
that's going to be a good
Yeah.
episode.
The quick rundown: after the brutal murder of their daughter and her friend, parents exact bloody revenge on the gang of convicts who killed them,
Mm-hmm.
including a chainsaw.
Wes Craven's first film.
Yep.
That's a tough one to run by
Yep.
your wife. Like, all right, listen, I want to make my first movie, and your mother's going to hate it.
There's going to be murder and rape throughout the whole thing.
2 things that are near and dear to my heart. Is that a pregnancy test I
Wait
see
till
on the table?
Wait till we get to Nightmare on Elm Street, guys. You're
Yeah.
going to love that one.
The kids will love it. Wes Craven. Sometimes I wonder how people skirt around this, because we for the listeners out there, we're 3 guys who have to at least pretend to be normal in our daily lives out in public to earn money. Well, yeah, John doesn't do such a good job, but Ryan and I really do try hard. and I'm sure when people who work with us listen to this, and there have been a few, and people in my family and everybody else's friends and whatnot, there are times where I say things where I'm like, I don't know if I want to let that cat out of the bag. Then you get Wes Craven, who's just like, I'm going to let it fly, baby.
Yep, right from the start. Right from the start. So my number 2 is also a major director's first film. It is Bad Taste, which is Peter Jackson's first movie.
No,
Okay.
you're full of them tonight, man. That's wild. Also filmed in
Oh,
New
man.
Zealand.
Yep. Starring Peter Jackson
Of course.
as chainsaw-wielding Derek, who has to save what remains of his small town that has been vanished and kidnapped
He's just
by
a small town
group of
boy.
aliens. Yep.
Born
A
and
group
raised
of
in
aliens is kidnapping the people so that they can sell them at their intergalactic fast food restaurant.
See, that's cool.
To serve man. It's a cookbook. It's a cookbook. There's no original ideas anymore. Soylent Green, Peter Jackson, we've got you. That's cool though, man. I had no idea that he made a movie where he was the main character, chainsaw-wielding Derek.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It's a mess, but
How is
it's a
that not
fun
number
mess.
1? What do you have in store for us that's not number 1?
Because my number 1 is probably one of my 5 favorite horror comedies.
Okay.
And number 1 is Motel Hell.
I've never heard of Motel Hell.
Oh my goodness.
Summer outdoor
I'm
movie.
bumping that up on the schedule.
Yep.
I'm bumping that up on our schedule.
I want to do summer outdoor movies with Motel Hell.
Motel Hell is awesome with that. The vibe and everything. It's awesome.
Yep. So Motel Hell, I'll give you a quote directly from the movie. It takes all kind of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Farmer Vincent and his sister are harvesting humans and turning them into jerky and sausage and stuff that they sell.
Okay.
Starring Rory Calhoun, who was a huge in westerns for a while, and with not a starring role, but a role for Jason Alexander.
He's got to get used to playing number 2. Or
he was doing a couple horror films.
He's about 4 or 5. Yep, he was in The Burning too.
Yep. Yes, he was. Full head of hair.
When we talk about Burning, we're probably also going to have to go into whether you can or cannot see his nuts in the movie.
Oh, was he in the pool? Was it cold?
He was sitting on the edge of a dock in those like early 80s super
Yep.
short shorts.
Oh no.
And it's
JC short.
entirely possible that George's Nuggets make an appearance.
And the
It was
editor's like, I'm
before the
leaving it
pull
in.
back.
I had to see it. Now you guys get to see it.
I don't care.
I was gonna
Great.
say you forgot to mention Coach Ballbreaker's in it. She's the sister. If anyone's seen Porky's,
Yeah.
Wow. That's a
There's
quality reference too.
so much good in Motel Hell.
We're gonna dive into Motel Hell soon, everybody. I promise. But that's been.
Yeah, I'm definitely bumping that up.
We got to do it. He's got command of the schedule. There's nothing we can do.
he's in control.
Indeed.
That's a scary thought for you guys.
It's like Hal from Space Odyssey. What are you doing, John? Nothing. Putting Motel Hell earlier. All right, that's fine.
And then the monotonous voice. But anyway, that's been Phantasm 2, guys. I believe we're going to be hitting you with Phantasm 3 shortly and roll down the line. I don't think there's any interruptions to the end of this one.
Before we sign off, I have an address you can write Reggie Bannister at. Send him some well wishes. Give him your appreciation for everything he's contributed. So it's Reggie Bannister, P.O. Box 4387 in Crestline, California, 92325. And we'll throw that in. We'll throw that in the video to the link to the video so you can see it.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the description as well for his story and what's going on with him. Dour news. And watch the movies and enjoy the man's work. And we'll catch you next time for Phantasm 3, guys.
Be very